All right, let's now talk about your feedback. Okay, and we'll spend some time. Spend some good time discussing that. The reason why, so usually the mock interviews usually end in like 30-35 minutes. The reason why this went longer is because it's supposed to be IIM-Ahmedabad. Okay, IIM-Ahmedabad goes in depth. You can expect the interview to be around 30 minutes plus. Average is 30 to 35 minutes, whereas an average of other B schools is 10 to 12 minutes.
Okay.
Right? So it goes deeper. Sometimes it can even cross 40 minutes, right? Because they go really sort of deep into several aspects. So it's expected. It's Ahmedabad, right? When is your first interview?
13th Feb. Cozy course.
13th. Okay, awesome, awesome. All right, now let's talk about your feedback, and feel free to sort of stop me and ask me relevant questions to that, and then I'll give you like time in the end to ask general questions. Okay, I'm trying to make this as structured as possible. Okay, now let's talk about your good points first. Okay, your positives. I think one of the most important things in these interviews is communication, obviously, right? That is why they're calling you to have a discussion. They have all your profile details. I mean, you are one of the top scorers. All of that is great. You have an IIT Mandi brand, everything. Your academics are strong. All of that is great. Okay, so they're calling you on the table to have a conversation. So communication skills really matter. Your communication skills are on point. Okay, I think you were very calm and composed in the interview. You were very articulate as well. Okay, there are certain areas with communication, minor points that I'll talk about, but overall, I think you did a very good job. Okay, you held your own. You had a very sort of calm discussion. You were rational and logical throughout the interview, and you were very articulate as well. Okay, so communication is definitely a strong point, and that's great. Okay, you can capitalize on that on top of your other strong points that you have. Okay, so that's fantastic. The other positives, I think, I'll tell you areas where I thought you did quite well. The first scenario-based question that I asked you, you were on point. Okay, 125 is the answer. You were able to get it quickly. I think the speed is not so much. I mean, they don't expect speed in these cases. What they expect is, are you able to sort of rationalize it? Even if you don't come to the right answer, are you able to give them an approach, have a discussion, and all of that? But I think your first scenario-based question, you got it. You got it right away, and 125 is the correct answer. The swaps are also perfect. So you had complete clarity on that question. So good job on that. The bioengineering realm of it, again, I don't know the technicals of bioengineering, right? But before your interview, I did sort of watch videos. I did sort of collect information, especially around biomedical engineering. I think you did a good job with it. I would have loved to have a more of a discussion on implantable devices, diabetes and stuff like that. But I totally understand that was not your sort of area of specialization, right? So that's completely understandable. I think you did a good job with that aspect as well. And the ethics, Jainism, and the humans part of it, the biomedical part of it, of growing humans in the lab, I think you had a very balanced view, and you were quite rational with it. Okay, you said you are religious. Okay, and there is of course a clear clash between the two, but the way you positioned it and the way you spoke about it in a very diplomatic, balanced, logical view, I think that was really good. Okay, so keep that in mind. These controversial points can come up. Okay, so the whole idea, one thing that you have to remember is with anything controversial and something, especially if it's close to your heart, that something like Jainism, don't get emotional in the interview at all. Okay, you did not get emotional, but I'm just giving you a tip regarding that. Okay, because with aspects like religion, we tend to get emotional. It's very natural for a person to get emotional, but there is no place for emotions in an interview. Okay, I think the way you approach the discussion in that balanced diplomatic way, I think that's the right way to go. Okay, so good job on that as well. All right, so yeah, so those were the positives. I think overall, Hiya, you did well in the interview. Okay, I think I don't have any major sort of areas where I think you need to improve on. Overall, you did a good job, but it is an IIM-Ahmedabad, so you'll have to be at the top of your game. Okay, because the competition is going to be intense. So now this is where I'll give you developmental feedback. Some part of it will be a little nitpicky, but in your case, that is required. Okay, the kind of calls that you have, we have to try and fill as many gaps as possible. Okay, all right. My first point that I'll give you, and this is not nitpicky, this is something that you'll have to be careful of. Okay, the internships discussion that we had. Right? Okay, so and you gave me this point yourself. I didn't even ask you. We were discussing internships, and you said that, I really enjoyed the third internship, the product management one, but the first two internships, not so much. Okay. And then, of course, I brought in the point of expectations, mismatch, and all of that. Do you get bored? And you said, yeah, I do. I mean, you didn't say that in response to the board part, but you said it before. You said, yes, I did find the work monotonous. Okay. One general rule that I'll give you in interviews, and I completely get where you're coming from. But in an interview, we don't say that. We never say this. Okay. We never speak anything negative about our academics, about our college, about our professors, about our work experience, internships, nothing negative. It's absolutely fine to say that you enjoyed the third one more than the first two, but you cannot say that I didn't enjoy the first two or I found that monotonous. Because at that time, what will happen is, see, that's completely understandable. But in an interview, they're going to pass a judgment, and they'll probably think that, oh, maybe Hiya is a little entitled at this point in time. Okay. And this is a judgment, right? But they do pass judgments, right? They don't have that much time to go deeper into each and every piece of data. They will form biases. And because you are already an overachiever, okay, that judgment can come in a panel's head. That, why is she saying that the first two internships are monotonous? I mean, internships are meant to be that way, right? They think that, why didn't she learn from it? She should have taken them as learning experiences and, really sort of gained from them. So don't bring up those aspects at all. Okay. What you can do is, and I can in this situation, and I made a note of it as well. Let me just come down to it. If you enjoyed the product management internship more and you want to connect that to your YMBA, by all means do that. Be very positive about the third internship, but no need to say that you didn't enjoy the first two internships. Right? If they ask you that, oh, how was your experience there? If that comes up, research analyst and lab technologist, say that, these were great learning experiences. These were my first two internships. Okay. Really good learning experiences. And you can even go to that COVID situation saying that, getting that opportunity in the third wave of COVID was very fulfilling. And that was my chance to give back to the society. So be very positive about it. Okay. Yeah.
Sir, I have one question here.
Yeah.
I mean, while I was thinking about this, I figured that if I say something like this, why would they not question me that, if you're so interested in bioengineering and if you've done a degree in it, why not go in the industry with simply a BTech in bioengineering?
Correct. That question can come up.
So how am I then supposed to tackle that? Because quite honestly, my entire aim for not going there is because I do not wish to do that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So how should I then frame my answer in such a way that it...
Let's talk about it. So that question is bound to come up, by the way. It's very likely that question will come up because your grades are also good. Okay. You went to IIT Mandi, your grades are good, right? So obviously they'll ask you, why not go there? Or if somebody knows that there is an MTech option here, the question that can come up is, why are you taking the exit option, right? Why aren't you going for MTech? So I think, see, it's absolutely fine to say that, first of all, start on a positive note that, sir, it's been and I'm just giving you sort of like ideas. You can package it with your own language and we can discuss it. You can always say that, sir, I've pursued this for 4 years. Okay. It's been a great learning experience, right? I'm very grateful that I got a chance to study in an institution like IIT Mandi, in one of the IITs, right? And it's been a fantastic learning experience. I've enjoyed my time here. But honestly speaking, I've carefully evaluated my, career choices or my future career path, and my interests have shifted. Okay. As much as I've had a great learning experience, right? And I've tried my best to perform well academically as well. And that shows in my grades as well. But at this point in time, after careful consideration, I have zeroed in on the fact that my interest lies in the areas of business and management. And that's where I would like to pursue my career path in. So what you have to basically say is that it's been a great learning experience. The academics have been good, but you have carefully thought about it and you've realized that your interests are in the business and management domain. And that's why you want to pursue an MBA. Okay?
Sir, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Say that. Yeah.
But as it like personally, when I was thinking, I do want to remain in the life science industry.
Okay.
I am not interested in finance in
Hmm.
even the remotest way. I mean, if I were to do an MBA, I would probably go towards operation management, product management, or consultancy. These are the three fields that I have in
Hmm.
mind.
Hmm.
And in either of these three, I eventually want to take up a life science industry. So
Okay.
again, this question is bound to come up then, which specialization of MBA have you zoned in on? So
Right. Right.
I mean, I connected all of these in the sense that, you know, I didn't like industry, but I like managerial roles, and that is why I want to come into an MBA and do in management. And that is why I also prefer consultancy or product management, these kind of roles, which give me the freedom to, you know, think outside of the box and
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
explore a lot more. So this
Sorry, I lost you. The last bit.
from the start, my line of answering. So now I'm just trying to understand that how should I go about it. Right. So I was just saying, so this is how
Here the
how
internet.
I think with my line of answers. So now I'm not sure what to say.
No, the internet is quite patchy. Just give it a few seconds for it to stabilize. Yeah, I I think it's fine now. Yes, you were saying something. So you were saying that you're interested in life sciences and you would like to sort of marry the two of them, but you're not interested in core specializations like finance or marketing or something. Just repeat that bit, please, because I lost you. Yeah.
So yes, sir, that's exactly what I was saying. That if I'm interested, then I'm interested more in terms of consultancy, product management, project management, and when I was thinking personally, I had all of this connected in this sense that, you know, industry sort of does not excite me as much in terms of the work, and that is why I wish to go into these particular fields. Because if we take consultancy, for example, it's a new situation, and you have to think every time to a new sort of like a case study basically, and that is what beats, you know, the tendency to have been doing the same thing again and again. At least
Okay.
that's what I had in mind.
Right.
So
So okay. So let me understand this. So you're not interested in the technical aspects of bioengineering. Is that correct?
um so it's not that I'm not interested, it's just that I do not wish to go in the industry as simply a BTech. This is not what I want to do with my career in terms
Okay.
of just getting into an R&D, even after a BTech or an MTech or a PhD for that sake.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, if I wish to contribute to the life science industry, but in a managerial role or in a leadership role.
Okay. Okay. All right. So you are interested in the industry, right? You're
I
just
am
not interested in the roles that would come out of a BTech,
BTech.
MTech, or a PhD,
Right.
right? So the R&D roles primarily, you're not interested in them, but you are interested in the industry, right? So after MBA, your plan is, again, that can also change, but post MBA, the plan is to marry the two.
Right. Yes.
Get a managerial or a consulting role or a leadership role in the life sciences industry. Okay. All right. Perfect. So in this situation here, so then we can't say that you're not interested in the industry. You are interested in the industry. Okay.
Right.
But your career path that you have in mind is different. Okay. Okay. So let's do this. Okay. What are the roles if, let's say, you finish your BTech and look for placements at this point in time in life sciences? What are the roles that would come your way?
Um, so right now there are actually absolutely no roles because
Okay. Okay.
we do not get a lot of companies for placements for these particular. But even if I were to get, it would be at the level of you know, research analyst trainee or R&D trainee,
Okay. Okay. So mostly
something
around
in that
research and development.
direction only. Right.
Mostly
Most.
around research and development. Okay. Okay. So let's position it in this way then here that, okay. So the question is, why don't you get a job based on your BTech in the life science industry? Why don't you pursue a job, or why don't you get into MTech and finish your 5-year dual degree, right? So what you have to say is that, you are interested in the life sciences industry. It's been a great learning experience, okay? And you definitely want to be associated with the life sciences industry, okay, in some shape or form. But at this point in time, if you decide to look for a job or pursue your MTech, even post MTech, the kind of roles that will come your way are R&D roles, mostly. Okay. And that is an area that you're not interested in,
Okay.
right? You are interested in the industry, but you're not interested in R&D. And most of the roles that will come your way at this point in time will be that. Okay. Then you can come down and say that, when you do an MBA, okay, and you sort of get exposure to business and management and you complete your MBA, the ideal career path for you at this point in time would be a managerial or a leadership role in the life sciences industry or a consulting role. Okay. So if you were to get if you're given an opportunity post your MBA, you would love to be associated with the life sciences industry, but in a consultant capacity or a managerial or a leadership role capacity. Okay, so that's how you can position it. And you can here also talk about the product management internship that you did, right? You had a great time. You enjoyed that experience. So, that also sort of gave you an idea that this is where you want to develop your career in. Okay. But again, when you're talking about this, say that at this point in time, this is what you're thinking. And be open to the idea of changing this. Okay. Right? And you can even mention that 2 years of business and management, you'll be exposed to so many different industry and domains. Your interests can shift, but you'd love to be associated with the life sciences industry in some shape or form. Right? So let's position it that way. All right. Okay. So again, just reiterating that. So the internship part is clear, right? Don't mention anything sort of negative about those 2 internships. And also your why MBA, again, connected to what we were discussing, needs to be stronger. Okay. So you're mentioning leadership, which is great. Leadership is a theme throughout your tell me something about yourself and why MBA. That's fantastic. But also make it stronger by bringing in this life sciences aspect. Why do you want to do an MBA? You can say that, let me think about this. So, right. An MBA will enhance your leadership skills. An MBA will enhance your problem-solving skills, right? And it will expose you to the business domain. Currently, you have no sort of knowledge there or skills there, right? So it exposes you to different industries. It exposes you to the business domain. It enhances your problem-solving and leadership skills, which will help you get the roles that you desire at this point in time in the life sciences industry, right? So you have the technical knowledge right now, being an engineer, but you lack the business and management knowledge, which an MBA would give. And then you would love to marry the two and carve out a career in that realm. Okay, so bring in this aspect as well, about you wanting a business managerial role in the life sciences industry. I think that will make your YMBA stronger. Okay. Just give me 1 second. Right. See, also on YMBA here, right? See, if we only keep mentioning leadership and managerial, then it comes across like the business part is completely missing, right? The leadership management part is great, but the moment you bring in that life sciences industry part, I think that will bring in the business angle to it as well, right? So that's important. I think that is the part that is missing in your YMBA right now.
Okay. So there was one more thing. So along with my major in bioengineering, I also have a minor in management.
Yep.
In my degree. So do you think it would be wise for me to mention that in somewhere in the introduction of my MBA?
Yeah. I think you should mention that, because then that'll help you connect the dots when it comes to YMBA, right? So when you're talking about your engineering, you can say major this and you had a minor in management and then drop it there. No need to talk about no need to connect it to YMBA at that point in time, but just throw that there, and then you get later in YMBA you can connect it with it.
Okay.
Awesome. So, sorry. Yeah, this is on your YMBA, and 2 more things. One, okay, actually, sorry. I'll package it in tell me something about yourself. Let's talk about your introduction. Okay, your introduction is fine, but there is very little explanation on academics. Is that conscious? Like you just mentioned one line, and I didn't even catch that in your introduction because most of your introduction was devoted to leadership roles. So that's what stuck with me. The BTech part was very fleeting. So is that like, was that purposely done or was this unconscious?
So I just felt that, I mean, they have all the records of how I've performed academically. So I was just not sure how wise it is to separately mention all of it. I mean, I didn't know if that would work. I was
You don't
genuinely
have to get into the details,
Mhm.
right? And yes, they have your profile, but they're interviewing like hundreds of candidates, right? So the key points in your profile have to be highlighted in your tell me something about yourself without getting into details. Okay. So what I would say is you say your BTech in bioengineering. Okay. Talk about your major and minor as we've discussed, right? And if you want to mention, you can mention that you've had a consistent academic record since 10th, right? 10th, 12th, and UG, you've had a consistent academic record. I think it's a good point to mention, right? So we're not bragging about it, and we're not opening the door of like intense academic questioning, but we're saying that we've had a consistent academic record. And you also like when I brought that up, you said that you are dedicated to ACADS, you are proud of your stream and all of that, right? So I think you should mention about your ACADS a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Why didn't you bring in internships in your tell me something about yourself?
So originally the introduction that I had written down and planned, I had these aspects, but then again I was not sure how appropriate it would be, because when I end up talking about it, it becomes slightly bit longer, and then the introduction seems to sort of drag on, like when I was practicing. So I just felt that maybe for this one mock interview, I'll let that be. And then I was actually planning to question about that later anyways. So, I mean, I was genuinely confused whether I should include it or not.
Okay, so currently, what are your hooks and tell me something about yourself? You talk about your family business. That's one hook. Okay. You talk about your leadership role. That's your second hook. Now there will be academics as well, where you'll mention academic record and your minor. That will be your third hook. And then you talk about your hobbies and interests. That's your fourth hook. Right? I think you can include a fifth hook, which is around your internships.
Okay.
Right? See, because your internships, okay, let's take it this way. Whatever you're mentioning and tell me something about yourself, try to bring up points that you will be able to connect later in IIM-A. Okay, so that's why that minor in management is important. That's why your internship in product management is important. Right? So let's talk about that. Okay. If you, I'm just thinking in your internships, your product management was also 2 months, right? So
Yes,
a 2-month internship.
2 month internship.
You can say that you took up 3 internships during your UG or during your engineering. You took up 3 internships, and the latest one was in the domain of product management with so-and-so company. Okay. And if you want to mention one line about what you did in that internship, you can talk about that as well and just leave it. And then hopefully they'll question you on that. Yeah.
So originally, so what I had written was something around these lines, that the opportunity to gain practical industry experience through various internships, including a product management intern, which solidified my interest in pursuing a career in management.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. I think that sounds good. That sounds good. You can skip the solidified part in management. No need to bring in IIM-A and tell me something about yourself.
Okay.
You can just instead of that, just talk a little bit more about what you did in that internship, and then just leave it. If you can mention the company also if you want, and then just hopefully leave it, and they'll question you more on that. Or you can connect when you're talking about IIM-A, you can then bring in that as well. Okay. All right. So that's about tell me something about yourself. Finally, your father's business, because you are bringing that up, right? And that's connected to business, right? You will have to be more confident about that.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not saying that you need to know the details of it. Okay. And it's
Mhm.
absolutely fine to say that your involvement has been minimal, you're not interested in that industry. That's absolutely fine.
Mhm.
But still, you should know the basics of your family business, right? Because a pre-MBA student, right, is expected to, if they have a family business, they're expected to have that curiosity towards their business, right? So the basics should be very clear. So in terms of, your turnover, number of employees, like you can't seem iffy about that. That, like, oh, there are like 100 employees or there are 300 employees. You can't see these basics. You should know, right? I think you were good with the current challenges that they're facing and all of that. I think that is all fine. But the numbers in terms of profit, turnover, the difference between gross and net, these basics you should know.
Okay.
Okay. And the reason why I asked you gross and net was because you said gross profit.
Mhm.
So a natural question that would come up is what's the difference between gross and net, right? So just get an idea of these basics. I think if you talk to your father, I think those questions can easily be solved. Okay. Yeah, that's it from my side. Let me just go through this. Internships, post-secondary career plans. Finally, current affairs. How are you doing on that?
So that is literally my weakest aspect. If there's one thing that I'm afraid about, it's current affairs.
Okay. Okay.
Because in general, I have, especially in terms of politics, I have little to no interest in knowing the
Right.
political aspects of the country. But I've started reading through the Ram Mandir case and then the recent few other headlines that have been made. I've been trying to read through them, at least gain as much knowledge as I can. Yesterday, I
Yeah.
was going through the emergency, the Blue Star operation, trying to figure out the entire. Then there was this Nitish Kumar, the shifting of political companies. But current affairs is my weak spot, and I'm genuinely not
Okay.
sure how to go
Okay.
about.
Okay. So see, the headlines you'll have, like, for instance, the Red Sea crisis is a major global issue that's going on, right? So I'll send you some YouTube channels. Okay. I don't, did you see them on the group when I floated that?
Yes, sir.
The
The
sources.
thing school and all, yes, sir.
So consult that. Red Sea crisis, Israel, Hamas, these are huge sort of headlines. Okay. So that you'll have to brush up. Okay. India headlines, global headlines, you'll have to have a good handle on them. And you'll have to go a little deeper. I understand you're not interested, right? But for your interviews, you will have to sort of, cover that aspect because those questions are bound to come up. Okay. So get a good grip on the major issues globally and the major issues India-wide. And if there's anything happening locally, right, catching your eye. See, you shouldn't get too much of static GK in your interviews, right? Because these are black eye interviews. You shouldn't get too much of it. Mostly it will be current affairs. So the major issues globally, major issues in India, and anything major happening in your region. Get a good grip of that and go a little deeper into each one of them. So for instance, Red Sea crisis, right? If we would have had a discussion, then there's a connection between Israel-Palestine. The crisis that is happening in Red Sea, the attack that's happening by the Iranian rebels, sorry, not the Iranian rebels, the rebels from Yemen, that's backed by Iran and that's in support of Palestine. Right? So it's happening because of the Israel-Palestine crisis. It's all connected, right? So you should have an idea about that. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's it here from me. Any questions? Any questions for me?
So that was one thing that I wanted to ask. Would, like, in our interview right now, there was little to no discussion about the PORs that I've held. And I was wondering that because, especially as a fresher, I felt that maybe this might be taken up. So is there a chance that it might not come at all? Because that quite honestly is one of my strongest points. I mean,
Right. And you did, man. That's the reason you mentioned that in your tell me something about yourself as well. No, see, the thing is, the reason why I didn't bring in mocks, it's the whole idea is typically what I do is I leave out the points where I think you're very comfortable. And I try to latch on to the points where I think you're not very comfortable, right? Because you mentioned so much about leadership, I was fine with that aspect. I was like, okay, no, I'm sure she's prepared. I'm sure she's doing well in that area. But in an actual interview, that can come up. Okay, they will test leadership skills, right? But if they're satisfied with what you've mentioned and they're like, okay, she has good leadership experience, then they won't question you on that, right? They'll also try to fill the gaps that they think you have, right? If you give them enough fodder about leadership and they're like, okay, good, leadership check. Now let me test how she is in academics. Let me check about her internships, her rationale for doing YMBA or current affairs, right? So it can go in any direction. They can take the approach that I took, or they can question you about leadership. So I think you should definitely mention leadership the way you're mentioning, but it can go either way.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And so should I have questions prepared at the end?
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. Chances are they, in a lot of interviews, they don't ask you that because they run out of time, honestly, right? And Ahmedabad and all these big colleges, right? They probably won't give you a chance, but you should have you should have it ready for sure. And that you'll have to research up on their website, talk to alumni if you have access to, and come up with a very institute specific question. Right. So something like, it can be about a club or a co-curricular club or a cell, maybe around product management or consulting that caught your eye and you want to know more about it. Okay. Or you can talk about an exchange program that they have. Or you can talk about a specific elective, right? You went through the curriculum, you found it interesting, you can ask them questions around it. So something specific that came out of your research.
Okay.
Okay.
And so about the second, should I go through more of these kind of logical questions, scenario questions?
Yeah. I think you should look at transcripts from IIM-A from last year. Okay. They do throw in these kind of questions. It can be a question like this, or it can even be a scenario, like a very general scenario that they'll give you, or it can be a math question as well. Typically, Ahmedabad doesn't ask math questions, but it can come up, right? So yeah, you should go through the transcripts and get an idea of these questions. Okay. Yeah. Good point here. One point that I wanted to mention is, so the second one was not correct. Okay. The answer is 1/4. Okay. And it's actually, you can solve it without probability. Okay. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this, because I'm not into quant, right? I teach VRC. This question was actually asked in an Ahmedabad interview about 2 years ago. Okay. To a colleague of mine in 2IM. And then they sent this question on the group and I solved it without probability. See, these are 6 bullet holes, right? So if you draw like 6 bullet holes, and 2 bullets are loaded adjacent to each other. So what are the possibilities? If they have to be adjacent, it can be 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, and 6, 1. Right? And then 1 bullet is empty. So there are only 4 possibilities remaining. So it will be 1/4.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So I'll give you a tip for these questions. And I think that's something that keep in mind. With these questions, you asked for time. That is great. So keep doing that. Okay. Definitely ask them for a minute. Ask them permission to use pen and paper. They'll give you a pen and paper. Okay. And then ask follow-up questions. Okay. Because when I gave you quite a bit of data, the first one you caught it very well. Okay. But I was a little worried at that time. I said, why isn't she confirming these data points with me? Right. But you got it great. I think the second one, I wasn't sure if you got the data points correctly. Did you catch it the first time when I told you?
I did, but I think I didn't catch the adjacent part. I didn't emphasize on that. Maybe that's why it didn't hit me that,
Okay. Okay.
For me, it was just 2 bullets and 2 bullet holes.
2 bullets and 2 bullet holes. Oh, you didn't get the adjacent bit, is it?
Right. I didn't catch it in the sense I heard it, but
didn't register.
I didn't register.
Okay.
That part didn't register.
So in this case here, it's absolutely fine to politely ask them to repeat the question.
Okay. So
could you please repeat the question, or you can ask them confirming questions. So is this correct? Is this correct? Please do that. Okay. Please ask follow-up questions. And if it's a very broad scenario, right? Like they give you a business scenario, profits are dipping, why, figure out the root cause and stuff like that. So it's absolutely fine to ask them follow-up questions and ask for more data. If you need more data, ask them that. Okay, so in these questions, you might not need more data, but if it's a very like vague kind of a question where they've given you very little information, they'll expect you to ask for data from them. So if you ask them intelligent questions regarding data, that also gives you plus points.
And so one last thing, like
Yeah.
I have been reading interview experiences and all. So in a lot of them, they've mentioned that for freshers, it is usually extremely academically heavy.
Yeah.
But as per our discussion today, I mean, it was academically oriented, but the kind of questions that I have read, wherein they
Yeah.
ask for definitions or
Yeah.
relationships and all.
No, that
So,
can happen. That can definitely happen. Yeah. So see, again, my knowledge about your domain is also right. So I did whatever research I did, and then I sort of went with that. But that can definitely happen in an interview. Depends on the panel also.
okay. So the thing is, actually, bioengineering is in general is a very broad field, and there are, I mean, there are a lot of topics that you think may come under it, but they do not essentially come under the curriculum that we are learning. So I'm just worried that they might ask something that they feel I should know, and then I would not know. So how would that affect
You can clarify at that point in time.
Okay.
You can clarify. Say that, for instance, they ask you something out of the blue. Say that, and probably, that might be under the broad umbrella of bioengineering.
Right.
But you can say that, sir, it does come under bioengineering, but because it's such a vast field, it wasn't a part of my curriculum across the 4 years. You can mention. That's totally fine. And that can happen. That can happen because if it's a person who's not connected to bioengineering and is looking up, then it can go in any direction. Like I tried to take you in that implantable devices, diabetes range, right? And you clarified. So that's totally fine. Just mention that. But keep revising the basics of your, because when I was looking up the curriculum for your engineering, I think you had the basic subjects from mechanical engineering and all of that, thermodynamics and everything, which are very popular in these questions, in these interviews. So laws of thermodynamics and stuff like that, the basics, make sure you cover the basics very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So yeah, work on these aspects here and work on the YMB as well. You reframe that, bring in that whole life sciences bit, problem solving bit, and make that stronger. I think that's quite critical.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay, great. Awesome. So since your interview is on the 14th, what you can do is take a week, okay, to prepare and sort of refine the answers based on our feedback, and then get one more mock done before the 14th. And then if you want like an extra mock after that, we can arrange for that as well. Not a problem. Okay.
So the thing is, I have Kozhikode on 13th, and then I have Ahmedabad on 18th.
Okay.
And I have a conference on 15th, 16th, and 17th.
Okay.
So I'll be directly from one interview, I'll be going to the conference, and I'll be coming back for the interview. So I wouldn't have time to prepare in the middle of these 2 interviews.
Okay. So do one thing. Get your interview second mock done before 13th, well before 13th. Okay. And then if you need another one after Ahmedabad, we can arrange for that as well. Okay. Every student gets 2 mock interviews, but because you have these critical calls, we can arrange for a third one, but get your second one before the 13th. And after 13th, once your Kozhikode is done, okay, and if you need to sort of discuss it with me or your second mock interview, feel free to contact us. We can have a discussion on the phone. Okay. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
All the best. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job. Yeah. Bye.
Bye.